Welcome back to Final Fantasy XIV. Yeah, here in the Crystarium, more precise in the Crystalline Mine. These are basically the role quests for gatherers and crafters. And I want to start the one with Frithric for the fisher. Hello there. I don't believe I had the pleasure. You must be here to join the Facets of Fishing, yes? Oh goodness, that was awfully presumptuous of me. We've had so few applicants recently, I got rather carried away. The fishers of the Mine and surrounding villages have made me the representative, you see, although I soon discovered the post to be a little more bothersome than I was expecting. I'd much rather be reeling in fish than scrawling numbers in a ledger, but such is life. It's my responsibility to ensure that the citizens have a steady supply of fresh water and saltwater foodstuff, which is not a task to be taken lightly. You see, while we're able to produce fruit and vegetables within the Crystarium, fish are a little harder to procure. The trouble is we tend to eat the same things day in, day out. I've been researching other species that could be used to supplement our diets. In fact, I'll be sharing my latest findings with the other members. Would you care to join me? Excellent. I'll meet you in Sullen. And look out for fishers casting my lines. There's nothing quite like a hook in the eye to ruin your day. So that means Lakeland. Isn't it wonderful? I never tire of gazing across the source. Did you know that most of the fish eaten in the Crystarium come from these waters? Unfortunately, my newfound duties prevent me from coming here as often as I'd like. Do my eyes deceive me? Could it be that our illustrious leaders found the time in his busy schedule to pay us a visit? No doubt you have more of his words of wisdom to impart. I wish only to diversify the types of fish delivered to the Crystarium. For that I need your cooperation, as we discussed before. Diversify? Are you saying our catches aren't good enough? I've been earning a living here since you were but a cub, so don't tell me how to do my job. As for you, I'd advise giving this one a wide berth before he starts filling your head with all sorts of nonsense. He wouldn't even be in charge if it weren't for that one spell of good luck. There are dozens of honest fishers better suited to the position, and none of them would waste their time on wild theories and myths. You'd have us risk our necks in some wretched hellhole, trying to catch a species that for all we know might not even exist. We've already provided the people of the Crystarium with all the fish they need, so why change things? Listen, Frithric, the best thing you can do is stay out of our way. Why don't you go back to your books while we get on with some real work? I'm sorry you had to see that. It seems that Merrill is in no mood to hear my proposal. Perhaps you'd be more receptive to my ideas? There's something I'd like to show you if you're interested. What a relief. To be honest, I don't think my heart could bear any more rejection. Anyway, I'll meet you in the Cabinet of Curiosity. Seriously? Down there. The only thing I enjoy more than fishing is getting engrossed in a good book. Come to think of it, that's partly the reason why I became representative, or a facet of fishing in the first place. You see, I discovered some long-forgotten methods for increasing the average yield per fisher. I put these techniques to the test, and they were even more effective than I could have dreamed. One thing I hadn't taken into account, however, is that the person with the highest number of catches is put in charge for the following season. As fate would have it, that turned out to be me. I soon found my new role to be a proverbial poisoned chalice, and the more experienced members rejected my every suggestion, no matter how minor. I can understand the desire to maintain the status quo, but I'm afraid it's actually the cause of a much larger problem facing our people. Citizens young and old throughout the Crystarium are suffering from a range of potentially serious illnesses. Thankfully, most of them don't appear to be contagious, but that's merely served to deepen the mystery of how they were contracted to begin with. After a considerable amount of research, I came to the conclusion that poor diet is to blame in many cases. People around here tend to eat what they want, when they want, which leads to them missing vital nutrients contained in the less appetizing dishes. In other words, these conditions can be cured simply by consuming the right kinds of food. Eating 8-eyed eels is apparently the ideal treatment for the condition known as shadow blindness. Many people lack the ability to see well in the dark, which was until recently believed to have been caused by the unrelenting glare resulted from a flood, but it seems to have been a common problem long before that. This is just one of many afflictions mentioned in these ancient tomes. Most entries have a list of possible treatments, many including the names of certain fish. I intend to catch these and distribute them throughout the Crystarium. Of course, there'll never be enough for everyone unless the rest of the Facet cooperates. If only they'd listen to me. To tell the truth, I feel like you're the only one who sees my side of the argument. If you were anything like the others, you'd have told me to... go away by now. Would you be willing to aid me in my endeavors? You would? I don't know what to say. Perhaps I should start by making you an honorable member of a Facet of Fishing and giving you an assignment. If you make it official, you receive payment for any order successfully fulfilled. One thing we're not short on is coin, I assure you. Before we begin, I need you to get the necessary paperwork in order, so let's meet back at the mean. I'll try to have everything ready before you arrive. Now that all the trifling details have been taken care of, you're ready to fulfill your first order. Do you remember the 8-eye eels I mentioned earlier? Well, as it turns out, there are a few shadow blindness patients who could benefit from adding these blood-sucking nightmarish creatures to their diet. And that's where you come in. I'd like you to catch as many of these as you can. Not only will the eels themselves attempt to latch onto your flesh and drain you of your bloody fluids, the area surrounding the lake they inhabit is full of deadly predators. Naturally, they'll try to eat you as well. We fishers normally aim to have safety in numbers, but you'll be alone, I'm afraid. But I'm sure a strapping woman like you will be perfectly fine. Remember, though you're risking life and limb, those poor souls who struggle to see well in the dark will be overjoyed. Crystarium deliveries unlocked. Facets of Fishing. By delivering possessed items to Fiverick and raising yourself in his esteem, you can advance the story of his quest to eradicate a range of diseases from the Crystarium. Many fishers of water does not contain, like the Rift of Size, but when Rift of Size is good to know. By that I mean the risk of them cutting holes in your flesh and drinking your blood. Each facet of a crystalline mean has a list of requests deliveries, except items from fishers. The esteem gauge will build with each successful delivery. Fill the gauge completely and your esteem level will increase, allowing you to progress. And 8-eye eels. So, man, let's get fishing. Okay. And this is apparently the Rift of Size. I guess it can fish from up here as well, right? You are not an 8-eye eel? You are an 8-eye eel. I'm using fruit flies, by the way. Or fruit worms, was it, right? The name of a... fruit worm, yeah. Hard candy. Mm. 4 of you, 1 normal. I must say, this one must have been quite a bloodthirsty glutton. Very little it sense before you managed to reel it in. It's grown. Deliver more items, huh? How much do we need? One more, okay. And the last one. I say, this one must have been quite a bloodthirsty glutton, in a very literal sense, before you managed to reel it in. Thank you for your hard work. I believe we have a sufficient number of 8-eye eels for the time being. I don't think I mentioned this, but the people I used to test the treatment for shadow blindness are acquaintances of mine who work in the Cabinet of Curiosity. Old books must be kept out of the light if at all possible, so not being able to see in the dark poses something of a problem. The curators have already started eating the eels, although we need to wait and see if they have the desired effect. Of course, they welcome the chance to try something different from the usual fare called at the source. Not only that, they're extremely satisfied with the taste. Speaking of something different, I think it might be high time you cast your line in new waters. Having said that, I'm still investigating which condition we should attempt to treat next. In the meantime, perhaps you could own your skills in preparation for challenges that lie ahead? You have delivered the required item. Esteem level increased. Frithric now considers you a fisherman's friend. Don't eat me, please. Last time we finished the first part of Frithric's fisherman role quest, so let's continue that. Ah, Serenia, I was hoping we would stop by, for I have most welcome news. The cause of eels we recommended to the curators of the Cabinet of Curiosity has done all we could have hoped for and more. Some of them claim they can even read in the dark now. At any rate, word of his treatment has spread throughout the city and appears to have found its way to the ears of my compatriots in the Facet of Fishing. Unfortunately, most of them remain convinced that I'm unfit to act as their leader, so I asked the chirurgeons of Spagarix if there are any other diseases that they have difficulty treating. They say that a lot of people come to them complaining of rashes and so on. However, a few of those patients have also taken to eating all sorts of strange things, such as coal and paper. After consulting the Cabinet of Curiosity, I learned that these symptoms often occur in those who lack meat and dairy in their diets. At first I didn't see a way for the Facet of Fishing to help, but after a little more digging I found that these types of food are rich in zinc. Do you know what else is rich in zinc? Creamy oyster. Unfortunately, they can be hard to come by unless you go all the way to Colusia, but being the helpful sort you are, you'd be willing to go and snack some, wouldn't you? Splendid. I'm sure the chirurgeons will be thrilled once Spagarix is free of paper-munching patients. The Crystarium deliveries list for Frivik has been updated. The skins and green rushes and strange eating habits are far from life-threatening. I imagine the sufferers are at their wits' end. Must do all we can to help them. Okay, to Colusia then. I believe this is right here. And my instructions say Moyebi shrimp are what I'm used to fish here. Not what I wanted to fish, but okay. Creamy oyster. Now a few more of those. Okay, skin rashes will up. 3 high quality and 3 normal ones. Yeah, I know. You certainly don't see creamy oysters like this every day. By all means, keep them coming. Well, that makes another shipment's worth. What say we deliver these to this Spagarix? Hello, we come bearing oysters. Oh, you're just in time. The patients have already eaten their way through the last batch. They're pestering us for more. This fellow was the most persistent of a lot, although he tells me he's well on the road to recovery. I am. Oh, praise be, it's a miracle. Before I started my course of oysters, I'd eaten almost anything. I could get my gnashes around. Boots, candles, even a teddy old Amaro brush. I spent goodness knows how long picking the bristles out of my teeth, and then I ate those as well. But thanks to you, I'm cured. Actually, the remedy's from an old book, so I think the author is the one worthy of your gratitude. Come now, Master Frivik, there's no need to be so modest. As a matter of fact, you and your scholarly pursuits have become the talk of the Crystarium. First the curators of the Cabinet of Curiosity, and now the patients here at the Spagarix. It really is quite remarkable. I wonder, might I be so bold as to request your aid in another matter? You have my thanks. Actually, I'd like to ask whether your tomes mention any cases where dizziness is accompanied by heart palpitations. These symptoms are fairly common in isolation, but cases of them occurring together have been rare until recently. Obviously, we tell our patients to rest as much as possible, but beyond that, there's little else we can do for them. Until we know what's causing it, the chances of a full recovery are slim. Please, will you look into what might be behind it? I'll do everything in my power. This might take a while, but I have a feeling I'll be calling on your services again. Until then, keep practicing. Piscatorial Pioneer. Let us continue with the third part of Frederick's Fisher Roll quest. I've made an incredible breakthrough. The key to curing the mysterious illness lies in the bright mirror clam. Unfortunately, we're not native to the source, so we'll have to try further afield. My tomes tell me they can be found near Long Mirror Lake, once part of the Kingdom of Verbert. These days the whole area is part of Ilmek, and most of us would sooner steer clear of there if we can help it. Although considering the dangerous places you've been so far, I assume you're not scared of a few pixies? Well, Theo seems fine, mostly. You know, Faye, and the rumors of a traveler with the net of pixies are about you, am I right? You certainly are full of surprises. Seems I found a perfect candidate to go fishing for clams in Ilmek. There should be some in a river called the Spoiled One, if the rumors are true. So, are you up to the task? I say, you seem rather confident. Those mischief makers had better think twice before they play any tricks on you. Unfortunately, I won't be able to join you on this occasion as I have, things to care about. And no, it's not because I'm terrified of pixies, perish the thought. Okay. What was that thing? I do apologize for asking you to travel into the heart of Ilmek. If there were a more convenient location for harvesting bright mirror clams. Grey Skipper is not what I'm looking for. A normal one, but okay. From Ilmek, a lot of bright mirror clams. Well, it seems your hard work has been rewarded. Your bright mirror clams are being distributed to the patients as we speak. Oh, that's right. The Chirurgeons mentioned they might be paying us a visit at some point, presumably to shower you with praise. Frederick, Serenia, the clam did the trick. How can we ever repay you? Let's not worry about that now. The main thing is the welfare of your patients. Just a moment. Is that Lop? Yes, he's one of many who benefited from your efforts. Until recently, he could barely stand without experiencing dizziness and palpitations. Thankfully, the treatment worked exactly as you predicted. To tell the truth, he probably would have recovered even quicker if he'd spent more time sleeping instead of constantly talking about the Facet of Fishing. Now, I don't like to pry, but I hear there's some discontent among your members. Not to put too fine a point on it, but I thought that if the Facet member were to try one of your treatments, then, well, I'm sure you see what I'm getting at. I'll take it from here, if you don't mind. Frederick, I'm not one to mince my words, and I won't be starting now. When you first started off about balanced diets and nutritional value, I thought it was a load of nonsense. That was until the Chirurgeons caroled me into trying your methods. Without my knowledge, I might add. Anyway, after a few servings of bright miraclum, I started to notice a difference. Only then did they tell me it was all your idea and the scales fall from my eyes. As much as I hate making apologies, I reckon I owe you one. I'm sorry, Frederick. If there's anything I can do to make it up to you, just say the word. Oh, quite alright, really. But if you're feeling up to returning to work, there are a few assignments you can help with. Yes, we could use a lot more creamy oyster and bright miraclums. And not just for sparrows either. If we can encourage the citizens to include them in their meals, then perhaps some of the illnesses we've been treating will become a thing of the past. Yes, I couldn't agree more. We'll do our best to keep the shipments coming in. It's amazing to think that the knowledge in those ancient tomes could be making such a difference in this day and age. Perhaps it will add a bit more weight to my side of the argument. Of course, if it weren't for your bravery and commitment, none of us would have been possible. Now that Lob's offered to assist us, we should be able to maintain the supply of our existing specialties while exploring new avenues. If you keep reeling in nutritious morsels, I'll see what information I can gather. You want to send someone else to Ilmek? Are you certain? Considers, you know, an apex angler. And there is some quest here. Yeah, this is another 75. Serenian, you've come at a good time. Lob was telling me about the young woman stricken with the most unusual combination of symptoms. She's been having frequent dizzy spells, much like I was, but if it went bad enough, there's something wrong with her eyes. The whites have gone all yellow. Yes, as far as I can tell, the dizziness is due to a certain thinness of the blood, while the discoloration is a sign of jaundice. She's been like this for a long time, and she's understandably reluctant to go outside, which isn't doing her much good either. Is there something we can do for the lass? Well, those ancient tomes might have something to say on the matter. Lob, follow me. I have a feeling we'll be needing your help too. Okay. Cabinet of Curiosity. Probably up. When it comes to history and medicine, I'm all at sea. I believe the information we seek should be in this section. Would you mind checking over there? Bloody hells! So much for peace and quiet. Merville. Well, what a surprise to see you here. Never pictured you much of a reader. I'm not here for my enjoyment. As for you, Lob, I thought you'd have more sense than to throw your lot in with these two. Merville, for once in your life, would you shut up and listen? Very reason why I'm up and walking it in, and don't you see? Friedrich is right. Is that so? Be that as it may, we should leave healing the sick to the professionals. They got their duties, we got ours. Are you fishers or not? He never was one for civilized debate, but he only wants what's best for our people. At least what he thinks is best at any rate. And he's been around long enough to remember the days when starvation was all too real a threat. That's why Mervyn and the rest of the old guard are not like to agree with anything that might lead to fewer fish being caught. The younger ones will be more likely to support your cause, though. To be honest, I can't see the talk of balanced diets winning their support, but there must be a way to get through to them. I'm sure there will be time to think about that once I found a treatment for your friend. I appreciate what you're doing for her, but why don't we have a curators look for the information instead? In the meantime, you can concentrate on getting some of the other fishers on your side. I tried that before, but they weren't listening to any of my ideas. Can you blame them? They're not culinarians or chirurgeons, they're fishers. I think they'd be a lot easier to persuade if you can prove you're worthy of being their leader. Perhaps you could try catching something they've never seen before, like a calico trout. That would impress them. Yes, that might work. Now, all we need to do is locate and catch one of the most elusive fish in the history of our art. It's no easy feat, that's what's being certain. And to make matters worse, the last known sighting of a calico trout was in Eel Mac, which until now I've gone to great lengths to avoid. Perhaps you could come with me? Since you seem to be on good terms with at least one pixie, they may decide to leave us alone long enough for us to hook our prey. Pixies? Rather you than me. Anyway, once I've asked the curators to lend us a hand with these books, I'll keep an eye on things at the mean. Someone's got to take care of a place while you're away. This place is a lot more pleasant than I was expecting. There haven't been accosted by even one pixie thus far. I don't think they'd play any mean tricks on us, do you? If it's all the same to you, I'd like to catch that fish as soon as possible and get back to the Crystarium. We might even get this done more quickly if we make it into a friendly competition. The first one to deliver a calico trout to Lob is the winner. Got it. What? You already caught one? I thought I'd offer a bit more resistance in our little contest. But I'll be joining you in the mean after I've caught one myself. A feeling I get a bite any moment now. Let's just hope he doesn't fish up a furaf. I should really stay here with him. But the quest commands. So how does it go? I have one here. As I live and breathe, it's magnificent. Look, I caught one too. Of course, I expect nothing less from the head of a Facet of Fishing. Anyone who doubted you will be put firmly in their place when they see what you've caught. I hope you're right. If all goes according to plan, we'll be able to get a few of the younger members to go after the rarer species in your stead. Yes, and that was giving me more time to help you with giving assignments and seeing to deliveries, which in turn will make it easier for you to show your face down at the source a bit more often. Mervyn and his cronies will find it a lot harder to ignore you that way. Once they see you're taking care of the day-to-day running of the Facet of Fishing, they're more likely to lend you an ear and mayhap even a hand. But before all that, there's a certain young lady in need of help. Maybe the curators have dug up the information we're after? Goodness me, I have to admit that had all but slipped my mind. I'm lucky I have you here to remind me. I'll go ahead to the Cabinet of Curiosity, but we'll send word if there's anything that requires your assistance. I shall see you anon. $78 is the next one. welcome back to Final Fantasy XIV. Yeah, once more in the crystalline mine, where we want to continue our fisher. I found a cure. Well, a potential cure anyway. As you may recall, Lob told us of a young lady suffering from a prolonged bout of jaundice and frequent spells of dizziness. Although we made an earnest attempt to retrieve the necessary information from the Cabinet of Curiosity, it was when we asked the curators for help that we finally struck gold. It seems the key to overcoming such symptoms lies in the nutrition-rich fat reserves of certain fish, particularly those that have spent extended periods out of water. Now, if you think that species like that would be incredibly hard to find, you'd be right. The tomes tell of the amber monkfish, which lurked beneath the sands of Amarang, around the hills of Amber, seeking what little moisture it can find. Fishing in a desert sounds like a rather daunting task, but I assume you're up to the challenge? I knew I could count on you. If the illustration in the books are anything to go by, they're ugly little blighters. You should probably try to catch as many as possible though. Oh, and watch your fingers. Okay. Best to have Lob give a fish of a fin. Now, I know I've fished normal monkfish before, but not the amber ones. Now, items. I need bait. Ah, you are... That's why you're so expensive. You are a lure, not a bait. Hills of Amber. So here is... Don't fall. And desert dessert. And there's a desert dustfish. There's a monkfish. And there's the last ember monkfish. At least there are again 6. In between I reached level 80 and equipped my level 80 gatherer gear and the fishing what I had prepared for this. Good fish. 1 normal monkfish and 5 high quality ones. Ah, it's a monster. I do hope that Lob does something to make it look a little more appetizing before presenting it to his friend. For what it's worth, I don't think they come much bigger and uglier than this. I think that should be enough. We don't want her being overnourished. Come to think of it, I don't believe I've ever met our patient, which is not so surprising given her condition. I take it the treatment is going well. Oh yes, she's looking a lot better. Yes, yellow around the eyeballs at least. Trouble is, even after eating all that liver, she's still as limp and lifeless as a beach jellyfish. She's always been a bit of a sickly child, but the chirurgeons seem to think it could be something worse. Most likely Crystarium. gods. I wouldn't wish that on anyone, not even Merville. Oh, I'm sorry, Serena. Since you're not from these parts, you probably never heard of Crystarium. Its name derives from the fact that it only affects those living in and around the Crystarium, although the exact causes are unclear. The body gradually becomes less and less responsive and can even lead to death in some cases. There's one thing I have to tell you, it's about the patient. She's Merville's daughter, Uriel. We all know that he's too proud to come to you. They thought it best to keep her identity from you in case you refuse to help. But her condition is a lot worse than we'd realize, so it's time to stop messing around. Yes, we can't allow the feud between Merville and myself to jeopardize Uriel's treatment. Oh, I must say, Lob, I'm rather disappointed that you thought I could be that petty. Your doubts were entirely unwarranted, I assure you. And when I think about it, the day we saw Merville in the Cabinet of Curiosity, he must have been there to research his daughter's illness. But that was when we thought that jaundice and dizziness were the worst of the symptoms. There's only one thing for it. It's back to the box. So I leave this to you. If there's a way to cure Crystarium through nutrients and fish, we're sure to find it. We'll be needing your angling skills before long, I'm certain. If past experience is anything to go by, we'll be sending you off to some fiend-infested bog at the arse end of, somewhere tranquil and picturesque. Now considers you an aquatic artisan. An indeterminate amount of time passes. If you came to hear good news, I've got none to give. We're still no closer to finding a cure for Crystarium. Of course, people only started using this name after the appearance of the Crystal Tower, and I have no idea what people called it before then. Having said that, the ancient records speak of Noble's Rot, which has remarkably similar symptoms to Uriel's illness. But as the name implies, it only seems to affect those who lead lives of luxury. Since we're not likely to find anyone like that around the Crystarium, it's hard to say whether Noble's Rot and Crystarium are one and the same. The only people who you might consider wealthy are those wine-quaffing gluttons over in Yulmore. Yulmore, Lob, you're a genius! Am I? It never occurred to me to go all the way there, though. The chance of them being able to help us slim at best. Well, a slim chance is better than none at all. If there's a cure for Noble's Rot, they must have their own way of treating it. Can I ask you to keep an eye on things here for a while? Aye. So then, yeah, let's head to Stilltide and ask the local fishers. There's something about the ocean that stirs the soul, don't you think? I wonder how many new species of fish are waiting to be discovered. I've read about all sorts of fantastic aquatic creatures in the tomes. I look forward to the day I can see them with my own eyes. Oh, I do apologize. I was rather lost in thought there. We better start asking the locals what they know of Noble's Rot. Why don't you try that elderly gentleman over there? Wizened Fisher. Good day, sir. You're not from around here, are you? What do you want? We are terribly sorry to bother you, but we were wondering if you knew anything about Noble's Rot. Ha! And that's one name for it. Or as I like to call it, witch bastard's comeuppance. Loads of people in humor get it and they've only got themselves to blame. All day they sit there filling their faces with expensive delicacies, drinking their substances that don't do your body a whole lot of good, so while their bellies grow fatter, the rest of them grows weaker. Luckily for us down here in Stilltide, the humans seem to think eating Prospero eels cures it. We sometimes find them tangled up in our nets, and they fetch a decent price. I see. Tell me, good sir, where can we catch these eels? Well, it's hard to say, since it's now impossible to hook one intentionally. Normally they'd be out of our reach, but they occasionally drift up from the depths. There's no telling how long it'll be before we snag another one. I've seen a few at market before, though. Some elf boy opened up trade between Yulmo and Viondor, who sometimes bring Prospero eels to sell. But even they don't seem to catch many. It's not often they make the journey here. The merchants came by quite recently, which means it'll be a while before we see them again. It would seem we've reached something of a dead end. If they live at the bottom of the ocean, that's where I go. My word, your commitment never ceases to amaze me. But are you sure it's not too much to ask? Glad to hear it. I'll be back at the mean trying to find the best way to cook the eels. Apparently it's all too easy to butcher and turn them into something resembling the regurgitated contents of a seagull's stomach, to quote the book. I'm sure the treatment will be a lot more effective if our patient can keep it down. Fool's errand if you ask me, but I heard that the Ondo use Moyebi shrimp as bait. Might be worth a try. But if your travels take you to the ocean depths, you'd better be damned careful. I hear there are ancient creatures down there that even survive the flood of light. Beasts that old and that tough won't hesitate to snack up any tasty treats that come their way, including careless fishes. Go if you must, but don't say I didn't warn you. Consider your warning well and truly heeded. You may be able to catch them at the northern slope. And how many of these shrimp? 20. Okay. I try it. And I need to go deeper. Here? Here's a cave. That's what I mean. But this is where I went to the main quest, right? The path down led there. That led to a Mawok. What is this? A Mawok, yeah. Got one. Sometimes one gets lucky. I hope there wasn't any too bad lag on the recording now. Welcome back. In all honesty, you'd been gone so long I thought something dreadful had happened. So, any luck? That's repulsive, but more importantly, it appears to be a fine specimen. It is no doubt bursting with nutrition. Now, all that remains is to follow the recipe and serve it to Riel. I'll go ahead to Spaghettiwix and tell her the meal is on its way. Let's hope she's got a good appetite. I'm actually something of a dab hand in the kitchen, but it'll require all my culinary abilities to make such a grotesque fish look presentable. It'll take a while to cook, so perhaps you can meet the Spaghettiwix a little later. You must be Serenia. It's a pleasure to finally meet you. You have caught an eel to cure my illness? While we won't see any immediate effects, I'm interested to see what she makes of a flavor. Well, she ate it. How was it? Delicious. But is it truly the key to overcoming my illness? It's still too soon to be sure, but providing our theories are correct, your symptoms should gradually improve if you continue with the treatment. I must say, it's a lot more appetizing than any of the medicines I've been given up to now. You, get away from my daughter this instant! Father, what's wrong? Aren't these your friends from the Facet? They brought me a meal to help cure my Crystiosis. I worked my fingers to the bone to pay for her medicine, and you think you can do better? These kinds of diseases are caused by an improper diet. The dish Serenia and Fifric put together is meant to give her what she's been missing. Yes, and this is based on our research at the Cabinet of Curiosity, where we find that Crystiosis is essentially the same as a disease known as Noble's Rot. The condition is common among you Morans, who use Prospero eel as a treatment. That's why we brought some for Uriel to try. And you're using my daughter as a test subject for your madcap theories? There's nothing madcap about eating a balanced diet, and your daughter was as keenly as anyone to try this new approach. Of course, Uriel isn't the only one suffering from Crystiosis, and we need a lot more Prospero eels. We were lucky to have Serenia here, but we can't expect her to keep catching them indefinitely. Lob and I can't do this by ourselves. We need experienced fishers like you, Merville. Please, help us. You did all of this for Uriel, even after everything I said. And will continue to do so. Perhaps with you where to lend a hand. Yes, of course. If you'll have me. You'll be out of here soon, I promise. Come on, let's return to the meet. I'm sure they have a lot to discuss. Dad, stop fussing. I said I'm fine, yet that is not yet loaded in. Really? Where's Mother? All this time you're working to save my daughter. I had no idea. I'm pleased we are finally able to get through to Merville. Though if Lob hadn't been so discreet, our efforts may have seemed like a shallow attempt to use Uriel's illness to manipulate her father. He acted out of genuine desire to help her, which will only continue to be the driving force behind our effort. Ah, Merville, how is Uriel? A lot better, thanks to you. So much that she told me to stop fussing over her and give you lot a hand. Good to hear she's in high spirits. As for getting on with some work of our Facet, the Lob has a few special assignments if you're interested. You just try and stop me. Watch out, fish, here I come. It's incredible to think how much has changed. With everyone working toward a common goal, things should go a lot more smoothly from here on. Having said that, I can't help wondering what would have happened if you and Lob hadn't been there to guide me. I'd probably still be butting heads with Mervyn and the others, which hardly bears thinking about. But it's not only me you've helped, it's everyone in the Crystarium. Once I get into better eating habits, we'll be much healthier and happier as a result. We in the Facet of Fishing will be doing our utmost to follow a fine example you've set. While I appreciate that you have your own path to walk, your own challenges to face, you'll be sorely missed. If you're ever in the Crystarium, we'd love to hear stories from your travels. All the best, my friend. He considers, you know, a warrior of water. There may be other folk in the Crystarium who could use the assistance of a talented artisan. Ask around. Now, I'm curious. Does the Fisherman's Guild have now anything to say? Can we share stories here? Like we can with Disciplines of War and Magic? Speaking is not what I want. This is something else. Apparently not. Okay. Good, then that is a role quest for the fisher then. Until next time, when we play more Final Fantasy XIV, I am Ace, and don't get lost.